youtube.com/MayhewMayhem. That's youtube.com/MayhewMayhem.
Hello and welcome to another episode of 30 Minutes of Mayhem. I am your host, my name is Michael Mayhew, and I am here with my co-hosts.
What's up, everybody? It's me, Greg. And once again, we are joined by the man who is so submissive that they call his girlfriend Peggysaurus Rex.
Nick from youtube.com/TicTacMan, and yes, I love it in my ass.
As I said, welcome to 30 Minutes of Mayhem, the podcast your mother can be ashamed of. And tell me, Nick, why is this the podcast your mother can be ashamed of?
Because she should be ashamed of someone lazy, someone who said that they would do the yard work, someone who said that they would landscape for you. But you know what they do? They just sit in the shade drinking Coronas all day. Fuck you, Emmanuel.
Coronas are nasty.
That is exactly correct. So Emmanuel is not joining us today, Nick, because he didn't get his work done. Is that my understanding?
I'm going to work him good. I pay him good. I pay him almost $3 an hour.
So what you're saying is, while your significant other is pegging you, you're going to have your dick in his ass. So it's going to be like the human centipede except for dicks and asses.
Yes.
Okay. So the main sites that we promo that we're available on is YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker. And we always say like a plethora of other options, right? So some of those other options are options such as like TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and other locations like that. There are other major apps that it's available on. And also we're on Twitter and Instagram at 30 Minutes of Mayhem, and the word minutes is actually spelled all the way out. On Twitter, it's 30 MINS of Mayhem. We're available on both of those if you want to go follow if that's your thing. We're also on Tumblr, Christopher Columbus of XXX.tumblr.com.
That's the only place I follow. It's got the good porns. You want the hot stuff? That's where you go.
And it also has the episodes every time they come out. Every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when the new episodes come out.
And hot hardcore action.
Speaking of hot hardcore action, Greg, after this little commercial break, and I had a conversation when we cracked the mics earlier about macaroni and cheese. So after this commercial break, you're going to get a little something from that. Hello, I see we have some new faces in the group today. It's always nice to see new people in the group, and I want you to know you're making the correct decision, because admitting this is the first step of recovery. Since we have so many new people, I'd like to go ahead and go around the room and introduce yourselves.
My name is Emmanuel, and I've been struggling with it for years, but I think I'm ready to fight my addiction to heroin.
Boring.
Well, everyone normally gets their opportunity to speak, but is that Nick? You seem really eager. You want to tell us why you're here?
I have a pretty hardcore addiction. Shit you never even heard of, man. I'm addicted to buying merch from MayhewMayhem.spreadshirt.com. I waste all my money buying that shit.
All right. Anyone else want to share?
Hi, my name is Greg, and I'm addicted to interracial gangbang porn.
She always, every time we visited, always made me her homemade shells and cheese. And she always used like fresh cheese and everything, and she baked it too. So I mean that shit was always amazing.
So you're trying to get more into cooking, but primarily you just want to discover the way to make the perfect macaroni and cheese. Is this
Essentially, yeah.
That's
one of my goals.
Is this because when you stir macaroni and cheese, it's basically
It
the
sounds
same?
like good pussy.
Yeah, it's basically the same sound as fucking.
I don't know. I mean,
You think that's why you love macaroni and cheese so much?
Might be, like, because it subconsciously makes me think of, eating puss. But I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you this much: if you ever put your mouth on a vagina that tastes like macaroni and cheese, something is severely wrong.
Severely wrong. I know that, man. I know that much.
You need to exfil from that situation and go to the hospital.
I know.
Or is your obsession with the macaroni and cheese so that, like, you stir it or listen to someone stirring it as you're fucking your fleshlight. So you're like, this is the same sound.
Hey, that
except
gives
more
me a great
realistic.
idea. I never thought about doing that before. Thanks, Mike.
Oh, you just cut the middleman out and just fuck the macaroni and cheese instead of the fleshlight.
Be like American Pie, but instead of apple pie, it's mac and cheese.
Exactly. You got to make sure you get the cheese consistency correct.
Yeah, because you don't want it to be too thick, but you also don't want it to be too watery. You want it to be just right. That's why you can't use Kraft mac and cheese, because Kraft mac and cheese fucking sucks.
It sounds like when you were talking about your ideal woman, it's exactly what you said when it came to them, is they can't be too thick and they can't be too watery or thin. I'm really starting to think there's more and more evidence here that the macaroni and cheese is indeed more than just a food to you.
Oh my god, I never thought I'd get into a Freudian conversation about mac and cheese, but here we are.
That's why 30 Minutes of Mayhem is the podcast your mother can be ashamed of. Nick, I wish you were out here for it, is the way he was talking about macaroni and cheese, it was so sensual that I was like, and record.
And you know what? And maybe that's the reason this is the podcast your mother can be ashamed of.
Because macaroni and cheese makes me horny.
You should probably never say the word horny again. It's the way he says it is fucking weird, right? Like, for what moist is to other people is Greg saying horny. Like,
hey, fuck you, man.
oh, God. So, Greg, you also told me that any food that you were interested in, you could probably make the correlation between how you like your women and how you like your food.
Pretty much, yeah.
I feel like we should turn that into like a new game going forward. Is Greg talking about a food or a woman? Something of that nature towards a game show to where we try to figure out, he describes it and we try to figure out whether he's referring to a woman or whether he's referring to some sort of sustenance.
I like that, but I could also assure you that given the opportunity, he'd eat either.
That is absolutely correct. And he talked about earlier about a woman tasting like macaroni and cheese, and I was like, you need to go to the fucking hospital if that's going on.
I can assure you, Greg, if you want the taste of Italian seasoning in your mouth, I can make recommendations.
Speaking of your puss tasting and smelling like Italian seasoning, what is the biggest design flaw of the human body?
Now, are we just talking about human bodies in general, or like either male or female?
Can I make a complaint about the design flaw God made with my 2-inch dick?
Greg,
No, because that's Mike's shtick, Nick. Get your own shtick.
he has a scar on his dick. It gives it more personality.
It's got character.
Yeah.
I just whip it out and they're like, oh, wow, that's
You
distinguished.
ever watch Westworld? Nick's dick is like Hector from Westworld. It is more distinguished. It has the defined scar on it, making him the stereotypical bad guy. So the difference between his dick and mine is that mine tries to be the hero and fails. Trust me, that's all my dick does is fail. There.
Well, I was gonna say, like, the biggest design flaw for men is the fact that our balls are on the outside. Because my God, it is so fucking easy to hurt those. Like, and my God, that is like one of the worst fucking pains ever. Like, I cannot tell you how many times I have accidentally sat on my nuts when I was going to sit down somewhere, or that I've accidentally hit myself in the nuts when I'm trying to like squeeze past somebody in like a tight space or something. Like, that is like one of the worst design flaws ever. Why would we have something that's that vulnerable just dangling outside of our body? It's so fucking stupid.
Greg's like, my dick and balls are so big. If you want to punch my V card, 30minutesmayhem@gmail.com. I got big
Just
dick
the
and balls.
gravity of my dick swinging into my balls occasionally. God, it feels like it's breaking me as a human.
Oh my God.
Greg's cutting his own promo here for Who Wants to Punch Greg's V card. We are still taking applications for that, ladies. Yeah, my big old dick and balls, if you're into that sort of thing. 30minutesmayhem@gmail.com. He's laughing
Oh my God.
He's laughing like somebody's fucking aunt that smokes. You know what I mean? Like that stereotype where she doesn't have her own kids and she's like, oh, I've sucked tons of dicks in my day. You know, that's how he's laughing right now. Well, with that being said, so your argument is balls on the outside. Nick, what do you think? Jump in here.
I think the human neck as a whole structure is the dumbest thing ever. And it's nice to have flexibility and all that, but like look at the rest of your body and how the muscles attach. It's very intuitive. Like the bone swells up there and then everything latches on. Like the muscles for the back of your neck, they go to a spherical object that has like little barely connected nubs on it, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna just slap these right here, and I guess that fucking works. I guess don't twist your neck in any direction sharply, or else you'll just fucking either hate yourself or die. I'm just saying, there was a lot of shows I watched in like the 90s and 2000s where dudes just walk up behind you and just bam, you're dead. All of a sudden, they just twist your neck, bam. Yep. It's not actually that simple, but
they Steven Seagal your ass
basically,
as I like to put it.
Yep, he goes through the entire kingdom of make-believe and just snaps people's necks like that. Thank God Mr. Rogers stopped him.
YouTube.com/MayhewMayhem. There's a playlist on there, multiple playlists on there for This Is Wit. You'll find it in one of those. You might as well just subscribe and watch everything. But not everything, because some of it's trash. I mean, not This Is Wit. I mean, there's a few that aren't so good. But videos overall, there's some trash on there. You guys went all scientific, and my answer is going to be having to dispose of waste.
I mean, as good as it feels sometimes to take a massive shit, it's also extremely inconvenient a lot of the time. And sometimes, you shit so much your asshole burns afterwards. If I didn't have to deal with that all the time, oh, God, yeah, that would... Fuck, man. Yeah, that would be great.
I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck? Your asshole burns after you shit so much?
Dude... You've never, like...
Is someone fucking a dog right now or something?
God, my stupid dog's barking outside of my room.
Oh, did you give him the dick?
Is it time for some fucking? Is that what the dog's like? Am I not getting this dick down, or what? We have to bring this back to the whole Stern macaroni and cheese thing here.
You think said what I was stirring it with?
Do you think dog vagina makes that sound? Does it lubricate? Nick, does like animal vagina lubricate like human vagina? Do you know?
I don't know. I would go ask my one dog Tilly, but she had her insides fucked out of her, so.
Okay, that's what I thought you might know. Yeah.
I mean, obviously not if it ended so poorly for her, but.
Well, she could have been.
Well, she was also old. So
yeah, she could have went through dog menopause by that point. And it just doesn't lubricate anymore. She's like a good spit on that. So there's that. Greg, what do you feel like the biggest design flaw of the female body is?
I was going to say that I don't have one next to me right now, but then that would just sound creepy, like I have a dead body with me. I don't know. I can't really think of any off the top of my head.
That's how much he knows about the female body. But if you want to educate Greg about the female body, if you get what I'm saying, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, anal sex, vaginal sex, hand job, blow job. Flick it a few times, he'll probably not. We've been over this before. 30minutesofmayhem@gmail.com. There is still time to enter. So go ahead and send those emails. We'll take a quick commercial break to give you time. Email 30minutesofmayhem@gmail.com and let us know that you want to punch Greg's V card. There's still time. And now, this commercial break.
Ever been searching through your bush looking for your dick and can't seem to find it? Well, you won't have that problem with 30 Minutes of Mayhem because it's available on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and a plethora of other options. With 30 Minutes of Mayhem, every pube is a dick. You look down and you have a cocktopus of options.
This is Nostalgia Bomb.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of Nostalgia Bomb. This is episode 95, which means that we will be talking about the release of the Power Rangers movie, which came out in 1995. This was truly a milestone for a lot of kids who grew up in the 90s, so we will be talking about it today, discussing whether it still holds up today, whether it's still entertaining, whether it's still worth watching, how much we enjoyed it growing up, etc., etc. So, let's get down to business, guys.
When does the second fucking Power Rangers movie come out? Because it's going to be a
Second Power Rangers movie came out in...
No, I'm talking about the current...
Oh, God. I don't even know if they're doing a sequel because the first one didn't do very well.
Yeah, they were going to base it off secondary market sales, rentals, and DVDs, and it bombed. So even though they were setting up for Tommy, they have announced that the whole project's currently shelved.
Good, because that modern Power Rangers movie was garbage.
I didn't think it was too bad. It had about as much depth as fucking Power Rangers has.
But it wasn't as enjoyable, and it took itself too seriously. I mean, that's what made the original Power Rangers great, was that it wasn't really like meant to be taken seriously.
Let's just clarify that we're not talking about the one that came out in 2016, the reboot. We're talking about the one from 1995.
And I bought that in a $5 movie bin not too long ago and rewatched it.
Nice.
How did you feel about it?
I felt it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, it's the thing about the Power Rangers movie is that it's not what I would call a traditionally good movie. It's one of those movies where it's like, it's not what most people would say good, but it's still fun and enjoyable to watch because,
a popcorn movie.
Yeah, it's bad, but it knows what it is and it doesn't try to be anything different. I mean, it's still enjoyable to watch. I mean, maybe not as much as like when you were like, 6 years old or 5 or whatever, when it first came out and you were just like, oh my God, the Power Rangers are on the big screen. Ooh, and like marveling at the fact that they use computer animation, even though now, like when you watch it again, it's like, wow, that computer animation is like really fucking dated.
Some of the over-screen effects, that was like what was driving me fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like the sliming effects and all that shit. I was just like, oh my God, this is fucking garbage. I dug it back in the day. It was the essence of Power Rangers, and Power Rangers hasn't changed. I just changed.
Not only that, but I mean, it had a pretty bitchin' soundtrack too. I mean, they had some.
It did have a very, very good soundtrack.
Yeah, they had some kick-ass songs on there. I mean, they had like the Edgar Winter Band, and they had Van Halen and Devo and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like that was the first time I ever heard the Red Hot Chili Peppers was in that movie, and I instantly became a fan after that. It's one of those movies where it's like, even though it's not, like I said, a traditionally good movie, I just can't not consider it one of my all-time favorite movies ever because it just holds such a special place in my heart. Because for nostalgia purposes and because of like when it came out in my life. I mean, because I was a kid and, the Power Rangers helped make me feel like I could do anything. I had every Power Rangers toy you can imagine. That was all I ever wanted for my birthday and Christmas were either Power Rangers or Hot Wheels. And I had like every Power Rangers toy that came out. I loved playing with the action figures and everything. That shit was the bomb, man. I loved that shit.
It was most definitely the coolest shit. One of the things I still even have somewhere in my basement is I gave most of it away to a kid recently. One of the things I kept though was like my original Power Rangers, and like you hit the trigger on their back and their head flips between the helmet and the unhelmeted.
Oh yeah, those were cool. Yeah, when those, I mean, even to this day, I still think those are cool because it was like it's such a simple concept. Is the effect of them like quote unquote morphing into like their Power Ranger form and everything in like as simple and basic a way that they can. I just thought it was awesome.
I was a huge fan of the TV show. It was one of the things that I enjoyed a lot. That and the animated Batman series. So I didn't have a tremendous amount of Power Rangers toys, not as many or not as much as like what most of my friends did, because I had more like Batman and shit like that because I was more into that. But I do have, I want to say, one of the flip head morphing Power Rangers, maybe two. When I was younger, I'm trying to think, because I know I have like one that's like the Red Ranger. The problem was they were a different size from like the rest of the action figures, considerably larger. So it wasn't like you could have this like more realistic fight between this Batman action figure that you have and this Power Ranger action figure or anything like that.
Yeah, I know the ones you're talking about. Yeah,
because they were too big.
Yeah, they're huge.
Not that they were huge, but like they were just.
Well,
They were just-
huge
they
for
were just-
action figures. Is what I meant.
Well, no, it was just that they were a little off in scale compared to something like Batman. Like they were like an inch and a half taller than what Batman was and all that stuff.
Right, and that was something that was an issue with me when I was a kid, because I was like, man, like everything else we got going here, is pretty
Yeah.
much the same size, so I could mix and match with like these G.I. Joes
mean,
and fucking Batman and that shit, but
What it came down to is most of your shit was a U.S. production, and that was actually just ported over Japanese stuff.
But as far as the movie itself goes, I remember wanting to see it quite badly, and I can't remember if I ended up getting it on VHS or not. How does it? Trying to think of how it ends. Well, let's not spoil it. Yeah, I know it came out in 1995. But no, I know that I don't. I'm trying to remember whether I have it on VHS. I don't think I do, but I do have. There was another one where I think it was Rita turns Tommy.
Oh,
like,
the
evil.
That was when he was first introduced
Yeah,
in the TV series.
That was the first VHS box that they put out. It was three VHSs, and it was the origins of the Green Ranger.
Okay, well, I know I have that, but
I have the first tape. No, I look at it. I'm just like, when I was a kid, I was like, I watched it, and I was like, well, what comes next? But I never got the other VHSs, so I never.
Yeah, I literally, if that's what you're talking about, like the one that I have is he's like evil or whatever. The story just like cuts off, and I'm like, well, what happens next? But I don't have any of the rest of it.
Oh my
Yeah.
God! So you're in the same fucking position as me, because I still have that VHS downstairs somewhere.
So
I mean, I know what happens because I watched it on TV, but my God.
Well, that confused me as a kid because when I was a kid and they first introduced him, I didn't see the first episode. So I was just like, oh, they're going to introduce Green Ranger, and I missed the first episode, so I watched the second one, and it's like, and he's a bad guy. And I was like, wow, I must have really missed something important because I have no idea what the fuck is going on. That was the first time I ever felt lost when watching a TV series because I missed a single episode.
But as far as the movie goes itself, I do not believe that I own it. Now, the question why is what comes to me, but again, maybe either A, it was such ass that they were like, we are not spending money on this, or two, I thought it was such ass that I never asked for it. But I'm assuming that what happened was that I did ask for it, and I ended up with the VHS that I was talking about. I think that might be.
They bought the wrong VHS for you?
That might be what happened. That sounds. That sounds.
Oh
about
man,
right.
that shows how much your parents loved you, man. It's fucking Power Rangers, whatever. He'll like it. He's too young to understand anyway.
My parents liked me so much that they didn't have anything to do with me, Greg. They,
Still don't. oh, that's kind of sad.
so I
We made
mean,
ourselves depressed.
literally the
Oh.
first thing that was said to me was, "Ew, he looks like you," and then they pretty much tried to dump me into a gutter, but my grandparents prevented that from happening.
Oh my god.
So
Oh, we are fucked up.
So just to follow up on the newer Power Rangers thing, if you have Amazon Prime, it is available to view right now on Prime, and its Rotten Tomatoes score is literally 3 times higher than the original Power Rangers movie.
Wait, the most recent movie?
Yes.
Which is hilarious because I can't fucking stand that new
Let's
one.
see how. I'm gonna see what Power Rangers Turbo is on.
I bet it's lower. 'Cause that movie was
it's got to be
ass.
it's got to be abysmal. I mean, it shouldn't have even been in theaters. It was
No.
it was the first 3 episodes of that season. And in fact,
Yeah.
if you bought that season on DVD, guess what's in there?
the Power Rangers movie, it's funny because it's IMDb gave it a 5.1 out of 10, with Rotten Tomatoes giving it a 40%, and then it says that 90% of Google users like this movie.
Never mind. That was that one I was looking at. That was literally 16% was the Turbo movie.
Okay.
So those 2 Power Ranger movies are actually quite on par with each other.
I think it really goes to what Greg said, was that it's not that it's traditionally a good movie. there's a lot of nostalgic factor, I think, that goes into that because, like, I religiously watched the TV show.
Yeah, me too. Well, except for that one episode I missed, but that was like the
He's
only
like-
time I ever missed an episode. And that was, I don't even remember why.
I remember there was one time I missed a Power Rangers episode, and they were like fighting this dude, and my dad's like, I was like, I want to stay. He's like, no, we got to go. They'll whip his ass. And it was the one time they got their ass fucking whipped.
Oh,
and I
that's
was just
hilarious.
I was just like, this, because I found out on the next episode because they were like talking about how they got their ass beat so bad and how they had to go find a new Megazord or some shit because he beat their ass. And I'm just like, this motherfucker. And that's when I set the long con in to kill him. I was like, yeah, let's get a burger, Dad. Yeah, let's get a burger, Dad. Yeah, let's get a burger at any time. Yeah, let's go get a burger. I win.
I oversalted everything. Which Power Ranger is it that is dead?
Trini, the original Yellow Ranger, but she wasn't in the movie.
What?
That was after they realized, it's kind of racist that we have an Asian chick playing the Yellow Ranger and a black guy playing the Black Ranger. So let's have an Asian dude play the Black Ranger and a black chick play the Yellow Ranger.
I swear to God, the movie wasn't the original cast.
Not the whole original cast. It was most of the original cast, except for the actor who played Zack and the actress who played Trini. She wasn't dead yet, but she would be in the next 6 years.
Spoiler alert. So it just makes me think back on episode 77 when Emmanuel was highly intoxicated and he yells at Nick about the fact that one of the Power Rangers died. So
it's like, she died so young. Why didn't you tell me, Nick? Oh my God, why?
yes, as if it was my job to.
Yeah, as if it was your job to tell him that.
He's just sitting there one day, and I put my hand on his shoulder. Emmanuel, I have some dire news. Trini died a decade ago. Long before I even knew you, she was dead. I just wanted you to understand this.
If you want to hear what we're talking about with Emmanuel being highly intoxicated and screaming about a dead Power Ranger, you can go check out episode 77 called Hanged Gliding.
I guess that's all we have to say, so just leave a comment below related to this topic, and see you next time, everybody.
We'll be back to 30 Minutes of Mayhem after this commercial break.
Spare some change for an old man? I need a little help here. Lost my legs back in the day.
Sick of motherfuckers like this begging for money? Well, 30 Minutes of Mayhem actually supplies you a product.
I'll suck your dick for $1.
30 Minutes of Mayhem will not suck your dick.
I might.
What we do isn't possible without the continued support from listeners like you. So be sure to donate via PayPal using 30minutesofmayhem@gmail.com.
Oh my God, that'd be funny as shit.
Well, I mean, you thought the hanged gliding shirt was funny, but never bought it.
Oh shit, that's right, I still haven't bought it yet.
Maybe next paycheck, but the next paycheck never comes.
Purposely quits his job so he doesn't have to buy the shirt.
I'll get it with my next paycheck from the pizza joint. I put in my 2-day notice.
2-day notice.
And then he's like, I'm gonna go commit suicide, so I don't have to so I don't have to buy this shirt. I'm like, well, then you better do it the way that you were doing it on the shirt. So, just fucking jump off the goddamn tower.
I do need to get the shirt. I like how you guys are like seemingly encouraging me to kill myself, as long as it's done in a funny way.
I mean, I'm just saying. You like grab like a little sock puppet and then you stretch it around some sort of spring and then you choke yourself to death on that. And whenever they're doing the autopsy, they open your mouth and pling! Jumps right out, scares the shit out of them. You can make it out of your fungal jerk sock too.
I always thought a great way to kill yourself would be to glue your hands to the side of your head. Before that, though, you make a noose out of piano wire and you stick your head in, you glue your hands to the side of your head, jump off to the chair, cuts your head off, makes it look like you pulled your own head off. Bam.
They'll find the piano wire and they'll be like, oh, he just tied this around his neck and it ripped his head off.
I mean, not if his mother respects him any. She'll clip it off and be like, oh, he had one of those moments where the Tourette's really just made him super strong.
Oh, so I have Tourette's now.
I mean, we can add that on, right? It all goes hand in hand.
So if you're going to do the piano wire thing, you might want to do a different version of the hang gliding thing. Do it with the piano wire. This time the hang gliding part that you actually hold on to in the hang glider, like on there, right? Put it in the bend of your arm up to where you're holding on your head. You're still holding on to it because it's between your body and your arms. The piano wire slowly cuts your head off. And when your head becomes detached, it'll open up that area so that you would let go of the hang glider. And then you would just fall and the hang glider would keep going. So it would eliminate the evidence.
That's great. I think when I finally run out of reasons to live, I'll just remember that and go out that way.
That does it for another episode of 30 Minutes of Mayhem. I have been your host. My name is Michael Mayhew, and I have been here with my co-hosts,
Greg
and Nick.
Don't forget to donate to us on PayPal, 30minutesmayhem at gmail.com. We're available on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker. I hope that you guys have really enjoyed this episode, and later, fellas.